Susan, you're muted.
It's me, Alicia Milligan. Hello.
Hi, Alicia, welcome. We're glad you made it.
Oh, thanks. Sorry you have to call me out in an individual text.
Oh, no,
Thanks
you're
for
fine.
reminding. I've had like a 2 week long headache, so
Oh, no.
not, yeah, just decompression room, that's all.
Yep.
I still don't see an agenda. Carol, I'm just going to start with your agenda that's on the screen, I guess, until one is sent. Sarah, did you try sending one over to me?
I'll send you one real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not in my regular email for some reason or in my Azure Fields email. All right, let's call our meeting to order tonight. It's at 7:04 now, and we'll start with the America verse. Let me recite it as you listen. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. May our feeling penetrate into the center of our heart and seek in love to unite itself with the human beings seeking the same goal, with the spirit beings who, bearing grace, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love, are gazing down upon our earnest, heartfelt striving. Rudolf Steiner. And our topic for study is not applicable tonight, nor is our board capacity building time. Our public comments. I don't believe we have anyone from the public to make comment tonight. So we'll move to our review. Oh,
We do have Susan here.
oh yes. Welcome,
Susan.
Susan Owen. Did you have a comment you'd like to make in our public comments time?
I don't have any comments this time. I'm just happy to join you today.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, and then we'll move to our review of the minutes. And we have two tonight. Sarah, can you tell us about, did we not review the minutes at our board meeting? We didn't get to that the last time.
No,
To
we
review
didn't
the May
because it was our
27th.
board retreat. They have been
Yes.
emailed out to people. By the way, Susan, you should have a copy of the agenda.
I do have, oh, thank you. I do have a copy of the minutes and I've read through them. Is there any discussion about the minutes we need to talk about, or has everyone read through them?
You don't have the vote in there.
Yeah, we don't have the
Sarah,
vote
of
section,
the
Sarah, for
approved vote.
the minute. Yeah, we'll need to vote on both the May 27th and the June 12th board retreat minutes.
Oh, you're right.
Do we need to add those in now, or can we do the vote and have you just keep record of it?
I can add it in. I'm just pulling it back up.
Okay, that would be better. Yes, I think. While you do that, I'm going to print out mine.
While you're waiting for her to get that updated, Susan, you can ask if there's any comments or questions about the minutes and anything that needs to be updated. If there's any discussion on the previous minutes.
Yes. Those were sent out in an email to everyone. Are there any questions or discussion that anyone would like to have at this time about the board minutes from the May 27th and the June 12th May 27th board meeting and the June 12th board retreat?
Sarah, did you want to just briefly review what was covered in each one?
Yes, I can do that. I just gotta pull them up real quick. So, at our board retreat, we discussed doing the oath of office and decided that we could do it in August, at the beginning of the year. We had an administration review from Carol where we discussed our readiness to open, our setbacks, our successes, and went over our readiness checklist that we were going with the state over. We also talked about our administration goals for the year, paying our contracts, decreasing our overhead, and making sure that we could manage things. And we also had conversation with Jeff about how our cash flow will be tricky and that we need to budget very well with that. We had our planning meeting where we planned our dates for the year, created training topics, and our starter study for the year. We went over our policy and approved our discipline policy. We also approved our data security policy, our hiring, firing policy, and we approved our handbooks. We took a break and then we decided to pass the board review onto this meeting. And then we did do an administration evaluation of Carol, and we decided to continue her contract into the next year, and then we adjourned. And that is the June 12th. I will pause for a minute before I do May 19th, if there's any discussion on that. Because I think we have to approve them separately, don't we, Carol?
I think so.
Yes, I don't see well, maybe Carol hasn't brought it down. The motion to approve the June meeting.
It's right there.
minutes. Oh, there it is down below. Okay. Board retreat minutes, yes. Okay, I guess, is there someone who would make a motion to approve the June 12th board retreat minutes as reviewed by Sarah Archibald?
I would move to approve them.
Thank you, Alicia. And is there someone who would second the motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sarah. And let's have a vote now. I don't see, because I've got my screen on the review of the minutes, I don't see everyone's face on the screen. So let's just
Do you
go.
want me to stop sharing for a second so you can see everybody?
Okay. There we go. Good to see everyone. Hi, Lisa and Martha. I saw the others earlier. Okay, so let's have a vote to approve our minutes from June 12th board retreat. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Let's see, we have trying to find the place for that on my pages. Okay, so we have Susan, Sarah, Marta, Christian, Thesa, and Alicia. Okay, the motion has been approved, voted and approved for the board meeting on June 12th. The board retreat minutes. Let's move on to our May 27th minutes. Now, if you could review those for us, Sarah.
Yeah, so we had our call to opening. Our Steiner study went over Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and they're questioning the basic assumptions, including seeing the self differently than other generations. We had the board capacity building, which was chapter 2 of the Charter School Board University. We had a review of the previous minutes from April where they were approved. We discussed open meeting compliance, the possibility of deferring opening, and various plans for that deferral. We discussed board member recruitment, and the June meeting, we were planning our board retreat at that time, and then need to set up a schedule for this year. We had an admin report, our marketing and enrollment, hiring staff, grants, and budgets. Teachers and Student Success Act. And then we had reports for our finance committee, and we were discussing the startup grant and Red Apple and how we were working with them, and we would need to do our budget approval at this meeting. We discussed our marketing and outreach team, and we had an adjournment at 8:46.
All right, thank you very much. Do I have a motion from the board to approve our May 27th, our May 27th board
Is there any
meeting?
discussion before a vote?
Oh, thank you, Carol. Is there any discussion or notes that someone wants to share with us? Okay. Carol, can you put on the screen the things that were added into the meeting minutes for this motion and this vote? Oh, I do have it here. Okay. So, if there aren't any comments or ideas that need to be discussed, could I have someone make a motion to approve the May 27th minutes?
All motion.
That's right. Thank you, Christian. And someone to second that motion to approve the minutes from May 27th. Thank you, Thesa. Okay, and we'll have a vote now by the members. Let's see, I see Susan and voting aye, Sarah, Marta, Christian, Thesa, and Alicia. Thank you. The motion was approved to approve our board minutes from the May 27th. Okay. We'll now move to an administration review by Carol Gregory.
Okay.
We'll give her the time.
Okay, the main topic being the final review of the budget. So I'm going to pull up the detailed report and make sure that it's big enough for you guys to see. So I have a couple of things to compare it to. This was the proposed budget from the startup grant that we were working on. So we had $20,000 allocated to tuition reimbursement for Waldorf training for our people. We had my salary. We had a lead teacher doing curriculum development. We had our workshops, conferences, and training. We had our contract services for support to get. We had advertising and marketing. We had curriculum and development, travel expenses, office supplies, our dues and fees, background checks, and things like that. So that's kind of what we allocated in the startup.
Carol, do you want to be sharing your screen right now?
Yeah, we can't see it.
Oh, I thought I was sharing it. Never mind.
No.
Well, that makes a difference.
It's a little easier to follow. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. This is where I was. So we approved this a year ago as we were heading into the startup year with what we were going to be purchasing. So we also throughout the school year decided with we also were approved for the revolving loan. And so some of the things that we additionally allocated from the revolving loan were some additional people to help us out with the load and get things ready for opening, some additional funds for marketing, and some additional supplies. So those are kind of everything that we've been working through. So we have the instructional services, Chalice, Antonia, and Veronica, paid out according to their contracts as contract service providers. They are categorized as instructional services because they were doing work for setting things up for the students. Myself and the registrar were our professional education services, and so those were our salaries that were allocated. We then have the professional training and development from the workshops and training that we participated in. We did get a little refund from one of the, they gave us a discount in one of the programs that we did professionally. Other contract services was Red Apple, their contract for helping us manage. We did have the lawyer that helped us review our documents and make sure that they were all aligned. We have our website and mass communication system through Edlio, as well as the initial setup of the website through Ionos. We had the workspace, the office space that we rented this year. And this came in a few $1,000s lower than we had originally budgeted for. So that was good. We have our office telephone that we're paying for every month. And then we had the marketing, the different supplies, print flyers, the Scala contract, the swag items to hand out at events, and the different events that we attended. We had the road trip expenses for collaboration and professional development. We purchased a professional development library, as well as training supplies for the teacher workshops. We also had general office supplies just to be able to run smoothly in the things that we're doing, and things like a branded stamp so that we have some official things moving forward. We purchased math curriculum from Paradigm High School with a secondary math 1, 2, and 3. So we have the complete resources there for that. We did purchase 2 office computers and some keyboards and mice for use. We had the Frontline Technologies that we onboarded with for recruiting and hiring. This is where we put our job postings and manage the people that we hire with onboarding. We had background checks that we had to process throughout the year. Everybody that's been connected with us has cleared the background checks. And then the fees and dues, just the processing charges for making payments is just a monthly, that's the service charges there. We also had our membership dues for the Alliance, and we had our tax exempt application fee and things like that. So that's where it is. And so our final budget, this includes I don't think this one had all of the income. So this includes the startup grant and the revolving loan. And so we used $349,458.45. Any questions about the budget and the expenses, and anything here for the board to give final approval on?
No, I thought we gave approval for this budget already. Why are we doing
So
another?
we approved it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
And then we have to approve the final reconciliation of expenses. So
okay.
this was the final reconciliation of all of the income and the things that we purchased. And so once you approve this, I go in and put this in the state system to reconcile.
Okay. All right. Are there any discussion points? Anyone? This looks like what I remember approving.
We looked at it last time. We didn't
Mhm.
have, there were still some, we didn't have the detailed breakdown. We
And
had
the
each
amounts,
category.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
had each category that you looked at, so nothing has changed. We're able to go through and clean up some of the expenses that were categorized incorrectly.
Okay.
So this is the clean version and where all of the details were, and there were some questions on what some of those categories were last time. And so this is the clarification for final approval.
Is there anyone else who has comment to make or discussion they'd like to have? Hi, Carrie. I didn't know you were with us.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yay.
Sorry, I've been eating, so
All right.
I was off camera. We had talked about the miscellaneous category in our board retreat, and did we get clarification on that at the end? When you
Yes.
were just saying, I missed
Yeah.
that part.
So there were multiple expenses that had been allocated in that category that
Mhm.
were incorrect because it was like $33,000 and
Yeah.
we're like, that's way too high.
Yeah.
So they've been reallocated to the other categories. Right now, so in final reconciliation, there's only 3,500 in the miscellaneous category, and those are transaction fees and the where is it at? Our membership dues for the Alliance, the fees for renewing our business account, things that don't really fit anywhere else, is what's there. And it's just shy of $4,000. So we got that cleaned up.
Great. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Yeah, not a
It
problem.
looks great to me.
I
Mhm.
didn't see anything on the budget that was significantly different than what we had approved. Was there anything that was more than a couple
No.
$100 higher? If it's lower, I'm not too concerned. Okay.
Nope.
Okay, can I have someone then make a motion to approve the school year 2026 final budget reconciliation?
I'll motion
Thank
to
you,
approve
Carrie.
that.
And could
second it.
someone second the motion? Thank you, Sarah. And then let's have a vote on that, and I'll be looking and calling names. I have approved it. Sarah, I see your approval. Marta, Christian, Carrie, yes. Thesa, are you there to approve? Thank you, Thesa. Alicia, are you there to approve our budget reconciliation?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. All right, so that's a yes for you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Our vote outcome is unanimous, so the motion has been approved. And then I'll have Carol continue for us then.
Sounds good. So the next thing that we need to talk about is kind of our status update and moving forward. We did get support from the State Charter School Board to defer for a year. That deferment looks like 9th through 11th grade next year. There are some challenges on this. So I'm going to present several different paths of our situation. And there's still some pending information. So the board, I don't think, needs to make a decision today based on all of this information. My recommendation is that we revisit these options in August when we have access and more answers. One of the challenges is that in July, state office people are at conferences and they're rolling over the systems from one fiscal year to the other. And so there's systems that are down, so people are on vacation and not in the office for access to some of these answers. So we'll go through just kind of the whole situation. If we continue the current path that we're on, we have approval to defer open fall 2027. We're approved for grades 9 through 12. Our plan would be 9th through 11th grades. There are some budget concerns that we don't have any additional funding available. And there is concern that if we don't open, then we're defaulting on the revolving loan. And there's major implications for that in the whole charter community, not just us. And so there's concerns and conversations to be had with people at the state offices around that. There are also enrollment concerns. We weren't able to get the enrollment this year, so there's a little bit of a question of how likely is it for us to get that enrollment next year? Will we be able to meet the enrollment requirements without having 7th and 8th grade? That was one of our biggest setbacks, is this gap year that families are leaving the Waldorf model and not staying and not coming back in that enrollment. Is our location also affecting that? Can we afford the very expensive land and limited opportunities that are closer to Mountain Sunrise that will make it easier for those families? And if we were able to find a way to afford it, would that even fix the enrollment concerns? So there's a lot of concern and question about being able to go through that. Some of the good news is that we've done all of the other work. Really, it is just filling our marketing and enrollment. We have a really good calendar put together for getting into the junior highs and letting more people know at their high school previews that we are an option as a high school. We have events and community things planned through the year. So that I feel like we have a pretty good plan for building that. Our name is out there. People are recognizing us. Conversations that we have with new people are, oh, I saw your billboard. Oh, you're that school. Oh, I got your flyer on my door. So there's been enough touch points that people are starting to get to know us and the word is spreading. And it's just a matter of completing that. The option for adding 7th and 8th grade, the most recent answer, this one's tricky because there are some conflicting opinions on that path. And so we're trying to get enough people into the same room in the same space to get a clear answer on exactly what that process looks like. The latest information is to complete the new school application and kind of start the progress, the whole cycle over and requesting 7th through 12th grade. So really it looks like adjusting our previous proposal to the new proposal requirement format and adding 7th through 12th grade. Chalice and I started this. I'll go ahead and pull it up and show you. We've started this application and I feel confident in being able to submit this to the State Charter School Board tomorrow is the deadline for this proposal. And Carrie, I see your hand. Let me go ahead and get through this whole section and then take questions if that's okay. So we've got the, and then just adjusting our seats to include 7th through 12th grade. And then just formatting. So this is there and it should be ready to turn in tomorrow. I recommend and plan on going ahead and starting this process because we can always pull our application out. Whereas if we miss this deadline and they tell us that really is what we have to do, we don't have another opportunity until next summer. So that's starting the proposal. It is unclear at this moment how this process will affect all of the accounts that we've already set up as a school if we start over. There's conflicting feedback about that impact and the correct process. If we do that process, we're not opening until 2018. And so we kind of just lie fallow next year as we complete the application process again. But we're already ahead of the game because we've already been through this process once. We already have a lot of our things decided and ironed out. I would need to seek other employment for this next school year and work on the application process in the background. If we are fully committed to this, there's a likelihood that they do pull those revolving loan account funds. And so we're sitting with a bank account at zero. Board members will need to assist in the writing of that application like we did the first time around. The good news is that we can reuse much of what we've already completed. It's a matter of adjusting it to the new format and making sure that we're including the junior high. We did learn a lot in this process. I think we have some very clear answers. We have better connections in our feeder schools. We can get letters of support and movement in the community to help support this choice. The State Charter School Board might be reluctant about another startup grant. I'm not exactly sure all of the steps and processes to that. I actually have a meeting with the financial auditor and executive director at the Charter School Board tomorrow. So hopefully some of these unknowns will be answered and resolved. But it will be a concern that we'll be defaulting on at least a small portion of that revolving loan. And that doesn't look good for us and would mean that we will not be very likely to get revolving loan funds in the future, at least not until we have very solid financials for many years. If we are approved, and so that's another part of this process, is that we might not be approved in spring of 2027. But if we are, then our opening date is 2028. Potentially we do get another startup grant, but not quite sure what that process is going to look like. We have policies in place. We have lots of answers. And so I think we can work on a tighter budget in this second startup year if we do this process again and move on into that. And we've already invested in a lot of things that, like, we don't have to purchase the professional library again and things like that. So we will be better equipped to have a wise budget with whatever they allocate us in that process. Potentially, this one's like a big if, there might be space for requesting to open in fall of 27 under this. It would be a waiver request, but we will have a very heavy burden to demonstrate that we do have enough students enrolled that we wouldn't need a whole extra year in order to get set up. Some things that could help us with that is a memorandum of understanding with Mountain Sunrise, that if we pick up 7th and 8th grade, we have a clear path to write a articulation agreement with Azure Fields so that their students can come, and then we have some very guaranteed enrollment ready to go. Would be kind of the only path for that. I don't know how much I would recommend trying to open early. I think it would just be better to follow the full 2-year cycle for that. The other options that we kind of have is that we could decide to close Azure Fields and find other opportunities for creating a Waldorf High School in Utah, whether it is that we let it go and work on forming a new group and working in the future, or we could potentially reach out to one of our feeder schools and help them with an expansion to expand the high school, that then has a clear path for K through 12 instead of being a standalone school. We still have the nonprofit, even if we let this charter go and decide to disband the current charter of Azure Fields. It's $18 a year for our state registration with the Department of Commerce for Utah to keep Azure Fields running as a nonprofit. I think it's around $20 a year for our federal renewal. And then there's questions like, if we do keep the nonprofit going, do we want to try a K-12? Do we want to push again for a 7 through 12? That's just kind of, so that's my summary. Carrie, I'll take your question now on this process.
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot from a lot of parents that it's very overwhelming to get their kids to Provo 5 days a week, and that they would be very interested in like a hybrid program. Is that an option? And do we have to put that into the charter? Like, would that have to be done in that same process? Like, do we have an option to have one of the cohorts be like a part-time cohort? Is that something that's too difficult to do? I think that would open up a lot of opportunities for parents and interest a lot of parents, because there's a lot of parents who want their children home more, but not all the time, especially as high schoolers.
Yeah.
It's all those homeschool families that they want to homeschool, but it's really hard to homeschool a high schooler, and they need someone else that their high schooler is accountable to.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's just what I wanted to bring up, that if that might be an option that could help us.
I know that Treeside did just, so it would be So it would either be something that we put in the new proposal and application, or we add an amendment depending on ultimately which path that we take. I think we always have the option of enrolling students part-time. And so, you know, if they chose to come for just the academics from 9 until 1 or whatever it was, or if they were coming just for the electives, I think that's kind of always an option of enrolling part-time. We would
No,
need to
that's
write,
always, sorry.
we would need to write a clear policy around how we handle that.
I think it's more that they don't want to do part day. They want to do, half the days. So it's like they only want to be going to school 2 or 3 days a week.
So they want like an A, B, so that would change our schedule to like A, B days and they only enroll for A days.
Yeah.
So that would be something that we would have to decide what the trade-off is there.
Mhm.
With the nature of the main lesson, it's harder to do that because you only have that main lesson block for 4 weeks. And if you're
Carol,
only there for half the days, you've missed a lot. And with high school, trying to get the credits is the other portion of that.
Carol,
Right.
I think it might help more if we had our school move to a location that was easier for them to get to 5 days a week.
If we could find one that wasn't $2 million for just the land, for an acre of land. So, I mean, these are I'm not disagreeing with any of that. So another part of hybrid, so hybrid often means that they take part of their classes online, and what that looks like. So it just, part of it comes down to understanding the model that we're offering and if that is still the model that we want to offer and how to make that work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was wondering if it would be possible to have like one of the cohorts be a part-time or, you know what I mean? But that would probably be tricky for our schedule.
I mean, if they're only coming 3 days a week, how are, like, part of it is how are they going to get their credits?
Mhm.
Because
So
you
it's
have
like they would
to
be doing the other part either on
online
their own,
or on their own.
or with their parents or whatnot. And
But there
that's
would
just the
be,
feedback I keep getting is
yeah.
it's too overwhelming to get my kid to Provo or have my kid that far away all the time. If it was part of the week, then that would be something that I would consider, is what I hear. So I don't know, just something to consider, I guess.
Yeah.
Another option, yeah, but I really think with a high school, you just have to be there. I mean, I think you have to be there 5 days a week.
In order to get the credits. I mean,
Yes.
like,
And I think
that's the part that is tricky, that you're getting credits towards graduation. And I mean, I think it can be done and there are options. There's a lot of thinking about how that looks. And if it significantly changes our model and our plan to do it. Sarah and then Marta both have comments.
I was just going to ask Suzanne if you have any input here. I know that you're at the decision making level on this, or part of the chart process. What are you guys feeling? Because we very much see this as we got our legs shifted quite a bit as during this process because we lost our feeder. And we want to do what's right by you guys, but we also
So
want to do what's
Suzanne
right
is
by our
with the,
Okay.
Suzanne is not with the
Yeah.
charter board. She's with the
I'm with
Association
the
of Public Trusts.
association.
Oh, well, what can I
So,
still? Sorry, I
So she's
misunderstood.
Certainly,
I'm
yeah.
still looking for advice. I will take it, please.
You know, I think when Carol mentioned, I think you have to consider all things, and location is key. And if it's not possible to move your building, trying to do a hybrid model, it's being done. It's been done. It's being done. But as Carol Ann mentioned, if you're going to stick true to your charter, the Waldorf model, there might be a little bit of a conflict there in trying to do something that is Waldorf inspired, but get online and do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Um,
what, yeah.
If they're doing homeschool or working at home on courses, that could be a little more doable, but then you lose part of your funding because if the student is attending your school only part-time, then you only get part of that WPU for that student. So having that many bodies doesn't translate into that many students, full-time students enrolling. So it really, you want to consider all things for sure. It's not a fun situation to be in. I, I'm kind of at a loss myself. It's concerning on all ends. And, I don't know that I could say I would go for that hybrid model. I think it would be good. And there's really nothing wrong with putting in a proposal now for 7 through 12. Because you can withdraw it later if you just decide not to. If you don't meet the deadline to submit, you won't be able to submit this year. So, it's kind of tough because time is of the essence here. So you could just decide to put in the application as Carol Ann was mentioning, and then meet and discuss and get serious about those conversations and decide whether you want to move forward with that application, or if it's something you really don't feel comfortable moving forward with, you can always withdraw it.
And keeping in mind, this first proposal is like the 10-page summary of like, this is what we're thinking. And we can adjust things a little bit as we go to the full application and we flesh things out. Like,
Yes, for sure.
this first one is this is the idea that we're shooting for. And the application process is designed to help us flesh out that idea more. So just because we don't put hybrid in or something in this proposal doesn't mean it can't also make it into the final application by November.
And you might even consider, and again, time is of the essence, and you may just want to get something put in there so that you have a little bit of wiggle room to make a real concrete decision amongst the board as a whole. But you might consider going back to view the State Charter School Board meeting videos on YouTube. They're all posted. And go view what the board has said to your school already and see if there's anything from there that you can glean. And as Carol Ann mentioned, it can, even whatever you submit this time can and likely will change to a certain extent. And you could take input from the board. If they say, well, you know what, this sounds really good. However, we might recommend you do something like this, or how are you going to get those students enrolled? How are you going to maintain the Waldorf vision? They would come up with different questions to phrase, and financial questions are going to hit you hard in that meeting. I will just be open and honest about that. I have nothing to do with it. I'm not on the board. I don't, but I know for a fact you will have to have your financial ducks in a row. And, putting an application does not guarantee that you would be moved forward for the full application.
Marta had a question and then Susan.
Yeah, mine is going off on a little tangent. Have you considered, this is about location, have you considered all those new units, industrial units that are being built in Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, and Bluffdale? They're all over the place. That's not a full $2 million, is it? To
Those
rent one of
are-
those places?
We did look at them and they are high market real estate that is very competitively priced, meaning very high-end priced, and they're in it for business. The people that have built those have paid $2 to $4 million an acre for the land. They've paid $10 million to build the building, and they're in it to make their money back, not provide a charity for a school. So getting a fair lease option from those buildings, we've looked at it. We did, and the roundtable funding was really great, and we looked at options. Those buildings weren't initially built for schools, so we're also looking at an initial tag on build out before we could get into it and make it function as a school. So we have and are looking and exhausting all of those options. And it just, even those spaces are highly competitive and not a friendly price point.
Carol,
Excellent question.
So you're saying that in order to add the 7th and 8th grade, we would have to wait 2 years to open? Is that what you're saying? Okay. So even if it's a possibility, it would take 2 years.
Because this year would be the application process and the next year would be the startup year. And there's also the chance that they won't approve us at any point in the process. Like, not that I feel like that's going to happen, but that is also, and when we applied, there was really one other school that applied with us, one or two, and last year they had 14 apply. So it's a little bit more competitive in the schools that we're going up against in the application process. And you know, the discussions, I've been in the board meetings multiple times this spring, and the thing keeps coming up of we're going to have to start telling schools no, because there's so many applications. We need to be more judicious about who we go through the process with. And so it will be more competitive and more people will get a no, just because of the market. I don't know if we go through this proposal process in tandem with still planning to open with 11th and 12th grade in this process. I don't know if they'll allow us to kind of do that. So, I mean, right now we do have the deferral to open in fall of 27 with 9th through 11th grade. And I don't know if we go through this approval process and they don't approve that, if we still have the option to open in the fall with 9 through 12. I don't know if that would be on the table. Suzanne, do you have any opinions about that?
I am inclined to think they would want you to do one or the other. I don't know that for a fact. I might recommend you reach out to Betty Jimenez or possibly Director
Hutchins,
Stacy Hutchins. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would reach out to them and find that out, to one of the staff members to see that answer.
By that process.
I really doubt that they would give you, because it would require giving you 2 separate charters. And I don't personally think that would happen. But
Right.
So if we do the deferment just 1 year, we still have a full year to do advertising and marketing. Is that right? Or do we have
But no funding to do so.
but no funding to do so? Okay.
Yeah.
And no funding to really like get the desks and get the, like, I mean, like, it just is really tight all around. And so I don't think like we don't need to make a decision tonight on any of this. This is really just like, this is our situation. I am meeting with Stacy and the financial person tomorrow to get more clarification. I'll be emailing updates to the board. But July is kind of just this time that it's difficult to get a hold of people. It's difficult to get answers. The board isn't going to be meeting to make any decisions until August. So we're a little bit in limbo right now. I don't think it makes a difference on trying to make a decision tonight or in August. And I think letting it sleep and deciding fully in August when we present our proposal to the State Charter School Board and we get more clear answers, just kind of waiting until August.
My
letting
sense
this
is
information.
that things still depend on our location. We have to have some, maybe a I don't know, an investor or someone who loves our model that would invest and give us a location. I just think
You can find one. Good luck. Like,
No, I know that.
it doesn't
I'm
happen
just
in
saying,
Utah. I
I'm-
don't know of
I'm
any
just-
school that's had that.
Well, actually, I looked up American Heritage did have that in the beginning when they started. But anyway, I'm just thinking that I still think we cannot even market properly if we don't have a location. I just think we have to have a location that's right. And that's the problem we're having.
Carrie? Do you still have? a
Sorry,
question? Okay.
sorry, it just took me a second to get unmuted. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding right. So we had talked to Stacy about adding 7th and 8th grade and being able to start next year. And have we found out that that's absolutely not an option?
According to the lawyer for the state charter school board, our only options for adding 7th and 8th grade are to be fully established with our original charter and then add an expansion, which is like a 5 to 7 year process, or to start a new proposal.
Okay.
But there
And
is
if we-
conflicting answers from when I reach out to the state. So the state charter board referred me to some people at the Utah State Charter, I mean, the big USBE, for some answers on how that affects us with where we are in the process. And there's conflicting answers that we're still trying to iron out what the real truth of that is. And we're probably not going to get those answers ironed out until August.
So if we try to open in a year from, August, is there any way to get funding to do that?
There is a chance that they let us keep the revolving loan, but we have to prove that we're going to be able to pay it back.
Okay.
And that's the big question now is you weren't able to get enough seats and it's a very risky thing if we default on this loan. And so it's not decided yet, but it is very risky and there's some challenging conversations to have in the meantime.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do we have any other discussions? Is there anyone else who wants to comment on what?
So my plan is to go ahead and finish the final edits on this proposal and send it into the state tomorrow so that we have that as an option. We can decide in August if we really want to move forward with that as our option or if we choose to go in a different direction. I think August is the time to go ahead and choose that. But this will be go ahead and finish and I'll email it to the board as soon as I get the final edits done and get it sent in. Carrie?
Sorry, I have one more question. We had talked in a previous meeting about all the unused office space since COVID around the Lehigh area. Is it right to assume that that's already been looked into?
Yes.
Okay. And it's, I'm guessing, more expensive than we hoped it would be.
Or was not suited to our purpose without extensive renovation.
Major.
Mhm.
And we had looked into joining with another school, like Rockwell, or what was the other one?
Oh, yeah.
Hearth Song or Hearth?
Help. It was Rockwell. And their director came back and said, putting two high schools in the same building, even though technically they have empty classrooms, high schools take up a lot of space and you have all of the elective classes and it gets very tricky in sharing spaces and keeping your identity separate and whose responsibility is what. And if a student vandalizes something, how do we figure out whose student it was? Like there just becomes a lot of logistical difficulties.
Do we have any other options of schools that we could share space with?
What about
Or are we not looking
Hearthstone?
into that?
I don't know what Hearthstone is.
It's the one in Jordan that eventually wanted to become K through 12, but they're starting at.
They
Hearthstone.
are no longer moving forward.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're not going to open.
Oh, okay.
That's sad.
I know, was it a location issue for them
What
also?
happened with, yeah, what
I don't
was
know
it?
details. I just know that they're no longer moving forward.
Oh, wow.
I think there were multiple things that happened and the board decided that they couldn't go through with the process.
Okay.
So the most viable location that we have right now is office spaces next to Treeside. The rent is really good. Includes all of the utilities. It's a third of the price that we were looking at with the other building in Provo. And this one includes all of the utilities where the other one did not. There's flexible spaces, and they have one whole building that is typically just empty. And they would be willing to get us upgrades enough to make it usable. It would have enough space for us to grow into the adjoining suites. But it is on the south end of Provo, which doesn't help with our main original demographics. However, there are growing interest in the Spanish Fork area, and the Provo area itself. So then the question is, do we want to switch the demographics that we're marketing to pull up people farther south? How many people can we hold on to from all of these locations? So multiple things to consider. But so we do have a space that we can continue working from, which gives people some stability and knowing that, yes, we have a location and we will be opening here. And the owners of those buildings love schools and love helping us out. We would have a lot of access to the Rocky Mountain University and the Norda College, which are very excited about getting students working with a high school for career opportunities in nursing and healthcare. So our students could get a nursing license by the time they graduate that fits into our CTE program. So there are some really good bonuses there, as well as challenges in that location. Carrie?
I was just wondering if it might be possible to adjust our schedule so that it's possible for kids to do hybrid if they're wanting, without really like changing so much. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of families that don't really care about the credits these days. Like it's so crazy how the, I guess, ideas of education are changing.
Mhm.
You know, and so like, is it possible that we could offer that hybrid program, but it would be like, you're welcome to come part-time. It's up to you to figure out which credits you miss.
So back to what Suzanne said
That
earlier.
That doesn't
there's-
help our ADA, though, our
Funding, because
there's additional problems to that too. So one of the metrics that we will always be graded on is our graduation rate. And if we have a lot of families coming, they're like, I don't care if I graduate, then that's going to reflect very poorly on us and give us a lot of challenges, as well as having to provide space and resources for these people that are coming only part-time, but also we're not getting all of the funding. So on one side, if it's the option between enrolling a part-time student and not having a student at all, then we get partial funding is one way to look at it. But if we're filling up our program and our seats and our building space with these people that are only coming part-time and we don't have space for people that would be there full-time, then that creates other funding issues. And then what kind of culture are we creating in our school? Situations and allowances or whatever, if that makes sense. So like, I'm not saying no, there's not a path for that. I'm just saying we need to, like, we've done a lot of work to be very confident in the model of the thing that we are offering. And there could be some conversations around, are there adjustments to be made that, I mean, one of the core things, we started this because families were asking for it, right? We started it because families were saying, we like this model and we want it to carry through. And we've been very intentional about making sure it really is the model that does all of the things. And there's always a trade-off. We can always consider other options, but at what point are we then deviating from our core values and the mission that we have established, and how much, like, what are the things that we're actually valuing, and what do the families that are intending to come to us really want, and then how do we also meet all of the requirements to be a functioning, successful school within that space?
Makes sense. I'm just my wheels are just spinning about it. My daughter is in my 7th grader will be enrolled in a charter school that's 2.5 days in person next year. And they do like 2 of the subjects at home. So I just wondered if
And up until you get into high school with credits, right? And then, so, I mean, one of the things that we've been saying is that we're an in-person, your student isn't going to be on the computer all day, but if they're doing half of their credits on a computer at home, like, is that a part of the model that we're wanting? And it does, I mean, our technology policy is purposeful tech, and maybe teaching our students how to do an online class is a valuable part of what we do, right? And providing that option. But one of the, and so I assume that she's just doing those credits at home and not on a computer. That's harder to do at a high school when we have accreditation and just sending packets home, you know, for students to figure things out on their own. Like, a lot of our families are coming to us because we say, we're going to support your student through the curriculum in these ways. We're not sending you to do it on your own. So those are just the things to consider as we navigate these conversations.
right, yeah, I totally understand.
Lisa?
We're not hearing you, Fisa.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
I've been working all day. I'm very tired. I've been teaching all day, and I'm in Boulder, and I've been teaching 27 teachers.
Wow.
So excuse me for.
You're okay. Keep your phone close to you because we can't hear you when you put it away.
And my computer's going into the Boulder store tomorrow.
Okay.
But you know, there is a model where main lesson is every morning for 2 hours, and then or a half a day of with some languages, you know, and foreign languages and some electives that can be done, where children can you know, kind of make their own program. And I think that thinking of Carrie, I'm thinking that it can be something a little more creative. As long as you have main lesson and you're taking them through the main curriculum, the other things are complementary.
But that would be still every day, though.
Yeah, it would have to be every day or at least 4 days a week, however, you know, you arrange the school. So, and I think for high school, they do need a little bit more of their own program. You know, and we can talk to somebody like Tom about that. The other schools have you know, different programs. And for instance, Jamie York, who has a math group, he has students in a circle online, and he puts them in rooms, and they solve problems, and they become close, and they have a social life, you know, and it's not just by yourself doing things. And teenagers, I think, want to be together. But I just think that I think we could look at it more creatively. especially if we're thinking of 7th and 8th grade as well, where they can have main lesson and electives like woodworking and really things that are interesting to young people. And that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Tessa. Definitely worth those conversations, especially if we decide to move forward with that proposal and application and the opportunity of, are we going to change things? But then also keeping in mind that the high school is, like, we do have a responsibility to make sure that the students get the minimum credits to graduation, and like we're offering a very robust preparation for life. And so I don't know, just kind of reevaluating, like, this is what we're offering. And there are plenty of people that are interested in that. And, I think some of these concerns, Carrie, is the distance and things like that. And how do we enfold the community in a way that answers those concerns while still meeting our mission and goals? Sarah?
I was just going to say, I've gone through a lot of these programs and there's pros and cons to all of them. I graduated from an online high school. I've been homeschooled. I haven't gone to Waldorf school, but I've got through a Waldorf program before. And there's pros and cons to all of them. We are, however, limited by our charter. And I think that's kind of what we have to do now with Carol, is decide what we want to do. One of the benefits, if we do close things up, is it makes accounting a little bit easier. We talked to Jeff. If we were to close today, we don't have to do any accounting for next financial year. That said, that's not where my heart is. And I don't think anyone's emotionally prepared to do that quite yet. And I think we should wait and listen to what the charter school board has to say for that. But since we can't really do anything right now, I would suggest we brainstorm like crazy for the next 2 months, but move on to our board evaluation, because we can't do anything right now.
I am in agreement with that, Sarah. I think we need to move forward now. We kind of know the options, and we're going to have to think about everything.
And I'm happy to have conversations with anybody on the board, brainstorm things with you. I can do that over email. I can do that over phone calls. I'll be emailing with the board throughout this.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Are you going to just kind of let us know how things are going with the state? And okay.
Yeah.
Is that legal for us to just get emails from you about how
If
things
you're
are
not
going?
making, so there's no, don't reply to the emails in a group
Okay.
discussion. We're not, don't discuss it over, I can give you informational updates,
Okay.
but it's not a discussion and there are no decisions until we meet
Okay.
in meeting. The discussions also need to happen in a public space. So like, I can answer clarifying questions, but as far as like the work itself, we would need to wait for the board meeting.
Okay. All right, let's move forward then now to our new business, which is our self-reflection on the board throughout the year. I think some questions apply to us and some don't anymore. So maybe we could, Carol, I'm going to have you help me kind of whittle down some of these so we don't spend a lot of time on something that doesn't really apply right now to what we're doing. So I love the questions that you put together for us, Sarah, and I know that we've looked at these in the past. So let's go through some of the ones that we have here on our, first of all, Carol, we don't need to make any motions or vote on any options yet.
From me? No.
Oh, okay.
No, none of the, I mean, you approved the budget and the rest of it was really just an update and some things to think about and the current situation. So there's no other action items on my part.
All right, so let's look at our pre-operational report votes. Let's see. Did the votes to approve monthly reports feel like meaningful, engaged conversations? How are you feeling? How's everyone feeling about that?
Susan, might I suggest a logistical thing for each section, kind of go
Read
through
all three
questions together and like any thoughts and comments about this section
sounds good.
that are relevant, and that will condense it quite a bit of just talking about the areas, and these are guiding questions and people can propose others as well.
Okay, and did our report approvals start to feel like a mere formality? What specific steps can we take to make these moments count moving forward?
This is not referring to approving them the previous month's minutes, right? That's a required thing, correct?
No, this is, well, I guess it could refer to all votes, but I think it's a vote approving monthly reports. You know, like the financial reports and the administrators' reports and other reports that we voted on, parts of the vote.
I just wanted to clarify, are we required to approve the previous minutes?
Yes.
Previous meeting minutes? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we're required to post the draft minutes after the meeting and we're required to post the approved. Well, I don't, there, Suzanne, maybe you can clarify. There's something about the draft minutes. Best practice is to go ahead and post the draft. You post what you're going to talk about beforehand, you talk about it, you post that this is what we talked about, we ratify it the next month within 30 days that yes, this is what we talked about, that record is correct. And it kind of rolls that way. So it's a part of our accounting and that's a part of those lawsuits that could potentially come and cause us problems if we're not following that process. So the minute approval is very important.
Yes, you do need to post your approved minutes. You don't necessarily have to post the draft minutes, but your agendas must be posted at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting, as does the meeting notice. And you do need to post your recordings of your, you need to make them available. And it's typically easier just to upload them to the public meeting website, public notice website, so.
I personally really, I'm amazed at how Carol and the people working with her, Tanya, put together reports that were so accurate and so easy to read through and understand. I think our financial and our other proposed budget pages for a pre-operational for our meetings were really well constructed and easy for us to read through and easy for us to understand. So I really like that.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who had an opinion about that, about what we've worked on in pre-operational work? No other comments? Let's go to our next one then, fiscal policy and procurement compliance. Did we actively verify that bid thresholds were being followed? Did we actively verify that dual signatures were being used appropriately? Did we rely too heavily on trust rather than active verification? Why have our procurement procedures not been formally board approved? What is our immediate concrete plan to get procurement procedures approved?
I would
So I don't
like
know.
to just put a note on this one.
Okay.
Some of these came from our initial setups. So we no
Yeah.
longer need dual signatures because we changed our account type. So that's why the dual signatures
Okay.
did not get put through.
All right.
And the reason we are not doing procurement, we don't have a procedure, is because we were using state best practices. And I'm understanding, Carol, we were following those instead of having ratified our own, which I still recommend that we copy and paste theirs and then ratify those.
Much better. Yes, that was a good decision then. Yeah, I agree with that. So it sounds like these don't apply necessarily.
They don't. They were in our beginning documentation.
Mhm.
And that's why I left them in there, is I thought we should at least have that discussion and discuss why we're not doing it.
Okay.
Even
Sarah.
if we know we're doing the right thing.
Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else who would like to just have any more discussion about these issues? I think I'm going to move forward then with number 3. Treasurer role and oversight. Is the treasurer consistently reviewing monthly reports in practice? Are the treasurer's reviews being formally signed off? Is an independent board member not directly involved in preparation checking these reports or those reports? And what does the treasurer need to be fully set up for success? Marta, do you have any comments about those questions or ideas, thoughts?
Because we haven't opened yet, it's been kind of hard to determine whether we're following that or not. as far as preliminary, I do look at the budgets that are submitted, but I can't see much of a change from time to time, except maybe what our guys are getting paid, you know, and what's being shelled out to keep us pre-operational. I don't think we can really answer that until we are operational to
And
know
yes, in
that,
fullness, you're right. I think you're right about that.
right.
Well,
But
and
I can't, I'm pretty happy with how we've been doing it so far.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything's transparent and
Yes.
fully disclosed and
Mhm.
And Red Apple has been really responsive anytime that we have a
Yes, they have
question and
been.
anytime we have a
Yes.
concern, they've been able to send us those reports and clarify the different things. And so again, like under normal operations, we're receiving monthly allotments and we're having monthly expenses. And this year, really, we had our one lump sum that we received. We had, you know, this is how we're going to spend it, and it just followed course. And so it is a little bit of a different process as we're getting established.
So it looks like for number 4, it's a little bit similar in that some of these were changed from pre-operational to when we were trying to start the operational board. But let's go through them. Was the finance committee active, engaged, and regularly reporting back to the full board? Was the marketing outreach committee actively engaged and regularly reporting to the full board? Was the building committee actively engaged and regularly reporting to the full board? Did any of these committees exist mostly on paper rather than doing real work? Well, we transferred marketing and outreach to not a committee from the board, but we paid Scola and others to work with with Carol on the marketing and outreach. And we just talked about the finance committee. Marta's the finance board, the treasurer from our board. We didn't put together a full finance committee, if I'm right about that. Is that true? In pre-operational, we never had a full finance committee. We just had a treasurer. Is that correct, Marta?
well, it was Carol, Jeff, and I mostly.
Oh, okay. So there was a committee. Okay. Were you
Yes.
all actively engaged in your reporting and in your meetings? Did you feel like you were a part of that and actively engaged in that, Marta?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as what I could do in their pre-operational state.
Yes. And we had a building committee with Carol, right? Carol, did you work with
And
it?
round funding and roundtable
Okay.
funding, and Sarah was often in those meetings as a board
Okay.
representative
Okay.
to stay abreast of what was happening. So yeah, we definitely worked on that.
I mean, we had regular reports from you about your building committee. I do remember that coming through every month. Did you feel like those meetings went well and that you worked through what these were?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone?
I would just want to put a note out there. The one area that we did not have board connection on was the marketing. And while I don't have any problems with what Carol and Tanya and Veronica and sorry, I'm forgetting his name for a second, did, I do notice
Brandon?
that is the one, Brandon, that is the one area that we struggled in. And going forward, even if we just have one board member that touches bases with them weekly, if for no other reason than governance, I do think we need to have a established marketing outreach committee next year for sure.
I was
So
going to say the
Well,
same thing.
I think we had
Whoever
a committee, but we may need a board member part of that committee because we did have a committee that worked on marketing this year. It just
Yes.
wasn't. I think we did have a board member originally in marketing, and then we gave that work over to Carol and the board and her marketing representatives and then the paid marketing representative later.
I was just thinking, if we hire someone to do our marketing in the future, can we have that person somehow be reporting to the board
Mhm.
more closely?
Yeah.
That would be nice, yes.
Thank-
Or would they report to the marketing outreach person that's part of the board? What would you prefer? Would you like the company to actually have a person, the company we hire, like Scola? Would have you have
Claire
wanted
could
a
have,
representative from
requested
Scola?
that Claire come to our board meetings. We just never
Yes.
decided that that's what we wanted to do.
Okay.
would
But
like
that
to
could
see that.
have. Mhm.
Okay, Sarah, that sounds good. Let's write that as a recommendation. Yeah.
Okay.
That looks very nice. Thanks, Sarah. That's good to add in, I think. All right, let's move to governance and administrative boundaries. Did the board stay focused on its high-level strategic priorities? Did we maintain clear, appropriate boundaries with the school administration? Where, if any, did the lines between governance and administration get blurry? Well, I had some trouble knowing where to board work, going to Carol and her work and the people working with her, or to Sarah. So I now understand better some of the administration work on the board that needs to be done with between Sarah and I, and leave Carol's work separately from the board work, in some respects, and the
Mhm.
responsibilities. For instance, the issue of the school website and the issue of, I'll just label those two things, the website and also the managing of the board member packets, the initiation for new board members and their work. Those are the things I'm thinking of. And this this pre-operational year and into our functioning board year, we also had to rely. We didn't have reports, for instance, on academic work and other kinds of things happening in, from the school end, because we hadn't started school yet. So there were, it was mostly Carol's reports and administrative reports this year. There wasn't as much to oversee because, like we talked about with the finances, it was our original vote on the finances, and they lasted throughout the year, the pre-operational year. So there wasn't as much to work through as we would have had in a normal school year. Is there anyone else who has a comment about that issue? Our roles and responsibilities, and that of our director, our pre-operational director of the school. Okay, let's see. We're going now to the board composition and skill gaps. Do we have the specific enrollment and marketing expertise needed to address where the school struggled most? Do we have the financial expertise on the board required to navigate the coming year's complexity? What specific skills or experiences are we currently missing at at the table? Well, we had Marta, who has a background in finance. I felt like we had enough of that for the financial end. I have more expertise with curriculum and with literacy and other goals. If we had had students and I'd been looking over academic reports, I could have, we could have had my representation for the academic work in the school. Marketing again, that's what we need to mention again. Probably none of us seem to have expertise in marketing.
It would be very helpful if we could find a board member that did
Yes.
have expertise in marketing.
Yes, that's right. That does seem to be something we may have missed. Although that's why I was happy to find Scola and to give them, they have the expertise to add to what we didn't have. And I think that was our attempt to have the expertise that would help Carol to the.
And I will say that, they provided a lot of, they did provide a lot of support and gave us a lot of direction. They helped us think about our audience and helped us decide, who are we marketing to and where do we find them. They supported us a lot in the tricky conversations that we've had to have in finding a building and navigating, all of these things. And so there's they did provide a lot of helpful things. And I don't know that we can really peg any one thing in our system as why we didn't get enrollment. I think there were gaps all along the way, and I don't know that the burden one way or the other falls on any particular entity in that whole process. Oh, you muted yourself, Susan.
Oh. I still think that our location became the
Mhm.
biggest issue we were dealing with. And that
I think the things that hurt us the most is that location and the 7th, 8th grade gap is
Yes.
mostly what, if we're gonna lay burden somewhere, that's the biggest challenge that we have to overcome.
And maybe not on Scola or on you and your staff working. You worked so hard in every way that we could have.
And we made a lot of progress. Another part of this too, I will throw out since we're talking about it really briefly, is that we're extremely different from anything else offered in Utah County at the time. At this moment. And it takes people a minute to wrap their brain around that. Some of the conversations that I had with our families in the deferment, there were a few of them that were actually relieved that they had an extra year to think about getting ready for this change in their educational program. And so just a little bit more time to sit with it and look forward to it is a good thing for several of our families.
I think it may be important to actually figure out where those gaps were and be able to name them and have a plan for how we can overcome them for the state board. And I think that we didn't have enough follow through with Scala. I think it really hurt us that there was so many different people on their team and not one person following through.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm working out. I'm a little out of breath.
You're okay.
Well, that's true. And but even, I'm just saying that without a location, you can't build a community around, without the location that our community was at, a location that they were already there. Then you have to have the whole marketing campaign of trying to create a new desire for this education. When we in the area of Saratoga Springs, we did have more people in the community that already understood our model and wanted to be part of us. So that was a problem.
And then not being able to find a place that was accessible to that.
Yes, to that community. So, all right. I'm going to move on to attendance and bylaw compliance. Did every board member keep their absences to 2 or fewer this year? Was proper notice given for all absences? And do we need to address any ongoing attendance challenges? Well, my first thought is we've never had to cancel a board meeting from attendance issues. We've been able in some way to cobble together a voting
Quorum.
quorum. So I feel good about that. It's hard. It's very hard for everyone to meet and to be present, but I was happy that we were able to, find a quorum and bring people together in our board. That was nice.
I really hesitate. I don't want to call anyone out, but Alicia is not very steady in her attendance. And we're grateful to have her. So that's the hard part.
Mhm. And I think just, some specific conversations of finding out like where that gap is and what the reality of her schedule is, and some more, she's in a different situation than the rest of us too. We've all been working together for a year, and then she's coming in. And so it's a challenge of having a new person to, how do we get them into the culture of what we're doing and the rhythm of what we're doing and the responsibilities required in that. And so maybe it's a conversation for some of the officers to work with in that process of onboarding and getting her feedback on how she could be supported in that onboarding process.
I think she was expecting to come aboard and help with just the general the opening of the school and be part of it, and not so much of all the struggles we've had coming to bring
That's
this.
possible. Yeah, I think some conversations would be really helpful around that. And she has been very supportive and really excited about the work that we're doing. And so I think there's definitely room for some conversations.
And we may want to bring more people into our board. That's what I'm thinking too. Or Sarah.
I did offer to our faculty members. We do have a team of faculty members that we took through the hiring process, and the communication to them was that you've already been through the vetting process. You're a part of our community, and when we open, we are dedicated to providing a job for you. And in this interim time, I have mentioned to the faculty that we've already approved, there is space on the board if they want to be a part of this. Their contracts haven't started yet, and there's no conflict of interest until they're officially hired. And that if they wanted to step into a board role and help us contribute to our community in that way. I gave the board application that's on our website to several of those people that asked for it. And so you may have 1 or 2 people at the August board meeting interested in joining to help us move forward.
Okay. Let's go forward with Waldorf training and study requirements. Are we on track to have 50% of our members hit the 20+ hour training mark before we open? Is the president on track to hit the 40+ hours? Oh my goodness. I did my own training last week for more than 40 hours.
You're already certified.
Yes. Is the VP on track to hit the 40+ hour training requirement? Is the PR representative on track to hit the 40+ hour training requirement? Did our mandatory annual Steiner studies successfully happen? So comments and ideas about that? We don't have a vice president. That is an issue. I would really like to have a vice president with me. So we have to work that out. Our PR representative, we took away that position from the board, and it looks like we may need to add that in again, but definitely had 40+ hours training. The Christian, are you still there, Christian, with us? Yeah. So he definitely has more than 40+ hours training. Let's see. And
Also
DISA, of
recommend-
course.
So yes,
Uh,
our board has,
Has met that 50% requirement, yes. Our mandatory annual Steiner studies successfully happen. So we did do our Steiner studies at each of our board meetings. So I think that's, and we even chose the literature that we're going to be learning from next fall. I have the book now. Freedom and Form.
nice.
Betty Staley. So is there any other comment or ideas for this section of our work?
Sarah has her hand up.
Okay. Oh, Sarah, yes. Sorry.
Just like to say that I would like to see that defined a little bit better, because while you have teacher training, I've also gone to your trainings in the past, Susan. I've gone to several of them. So
Yeah.
I would like to have that defined, especially with potential more parents coming onto the board later on what that means. Like, do they need to be teacher certified? What can it include? And I know we've talked about like community outreach and stuff with you, Carol, but I would like to see that listed out at some point. It's not a right now issue.
It is listed out in the bylaws.
Oh, is it all the things that it can be part of? Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. I'm wrong.
Included.
I'm pretty sure. So it's 20 plus hours that include the Alliance conferences and the in-school trainings and different things like that, or a Waldorf certification certificate, right? Like, so it is, there are multiple things listed in there, and that's in the bylaws.
Did you include those community trainings like Julene's and like Waldorf, like the Wasatch?
I think it's broad
Okay.
in the wording, but it does include, like, you know, there's multiple avenues to getting this. And I don't know if at some point we want to go through of like, how exactly are we going to track that? But are we just gonna take
Or
people's
we
word
could
for it, or are we gonna?
It might be nice to, at some point, at least with some of the training, say, we would like you to attend this training, you know, in the future. Like the Wasatch training would be really great to have our board members.
Or our school was putting our own together, so.
Oh,
having
yes,
them
that's right. We're
participate in
doing our own.
those.
Yeah, that would be great.
But I think that is described at least broadly in the bylaws.
Okay.
And that would be the place that you would codify that.
I remember that, Carol. I remember you had that described. Yes.
I wanted to ask, do we have it specified, like, is the board member responsible for the financial part of those trainings?
Ah,
Like, for instance, like this year, if we don't have any funding, what are we not paying for the Alliance training?
So, I mean, if you take the, the 10 minutes, so there's 120 minutes. So there's 2 hours a year that you get just at the board meetings. A minimum. And so over several years, you're moving towards that. I mean, we kind of designed it that way, that you're moving towards that. And if you go to one weekend conference and the monthly meetings, that kind of meets that 20-hour minimum. And the longer you're on the board, the more opportunities you have for that. So I mean, getting the 40 hours, you could do it in a year. Generally in the regular budget, the school would, I don't think we ever defined specifically whose responsibility that would be. I think we have plenty, I mean, at the moment, we have plenty of people that already meet this requirement. So then it would be new people coming in. And once we're fully operational, we have a full operational budget, and that's just a part of the PD budget. And the online trainings are really easy with the option of, if you wanted to attend in person, you pay the difference, kind of thing. And so I don't know that at this time we need to codify
Yeah,
that
we
out.
don't need to worry about it. I forget that it's only 50% of the board that is required, and we
Yeah.
already have that, so we're not
do have
worried
that.
about that currently. Sorry.
And then
That
as we move
refreshed my
forward,
memory.
yeah, and we kind of left that flexibility a little bit. Just, you know, I prefer more autonomy for people. And I mean, if somebody is really passionate about joining the board and they really want to be that board president, I think they're going to invest in what it takes to meet those requirements. And maybe we encourage some people to take that path and meet those requirements. So I think the distinctions are there, and we have multiple paths to making that happen. And that's listed out in the bylaws.
I do think we may want to in the future specify them a little bit more. Because we do really want to have people that are trained in some knowledge of Waldorf education before they're board president, or all the members lose, we lose all the members that have had the training, and then we end up with a board that doesn't understand Waldorf education. So that's really important. All right, meeting minutes and documentation scrutiny. Our board member recusals clearly and legally documented in the minutes. Our budget amendments documented with absolute clarity. Our report approvals clearly detailed for public record. Would our minutes confidently hold up to external legal or authorizer scrutiny? Well, Sarah's helped us so much on this, keeping us, with her experience and knowledge. I think our minutes have been really well written and defined. I think we haven't had recusals
And recusals are when someone has a conflict of interest and they have to abstain from a vote. And anytime someone has felt that was necessary, it has been clearly stated and documented, but it didn't happen very often. We haven't had that issue coming up.
And we've been documenting online with the public records all the things that we've done as well.
Yes. And if there's ever been an issue, I've always talked to Carol about it. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone else that has any questions about that too, but I don't want to discuss that positively or negatively at the current moment. For
Okay.
reasons.
Okay, deferral year strategy. Let's go over that one. What specific governance habits do we want to completely reset during this deferral year? What operational practices should we change to maximize this extra time? Is there any ideas or thoughts about that? I think our board retreat, when we had discussions about these things before, about our dates and times and about our study work, kind of addressed this already. Things we wanted to change in the way we did governance. Do you have any ideas about maximizing time during this change process, Carol? What you would like to see of the board from us during all the changes that are going to be coming up?
Okay. I think that we've been finding our rhythm, and that I think, some of the things that we've already discussed of making sure that marketing is reporting every month, and that that we have a board member connecting with them more often in those weekly meetings or whatever iteration that is. I think we've already come up with all of those strategies, and just continuing the work that we're doing and continuing to improve our processes every meeting.
Okay. Let's go into personal commitment and transitions. Is each member personally ready and able to commit to the heavy workload of the coming year? Are there personal capacity gaps we need to fill? Should we thoughtfully plan for our board transition or resignation to make room for new skills? I think that
I might mention that in one of the former meetings, I put it on the agenda to you guys be looking for a new treasurer. And so that's the only thing, if you can find someone who has at least the skill level I do, if not greater, to move into this position, I'll stay until such a person can be found.
Great. And Christian, how do you feel about going back to being our marketing and strategy person on the board, keeping that as a title?
Also,
Susan,
could you,
in
like-
order to reinstitute that as an officer position, we have to do another amendment to the bylaws that and goes through the charter board approval.
Okay.
But I think that having him as the leader of the committee, as just a member of the board, is an easy path for that.
How do you feel about that, Christian?
well, I'll do my darndest, but I don't have any social media, so I'd have to grease the gears a little bit.
Mhm.
Which I can do. I've been thinking about going back, which is a weird thing for a Waldorfy person to say. But I don't know,
Okay.
swim in the world
We'll
and
have to see next year how things are going too, obviously.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other ideas about things you think we need to change in general?
We have talked about trying to find a board member with law experience and advertising experience.
Mhm.
So
Put those,
just a reminder of that.
okay,
We all know that, right?
yeah.
And does the board know where to find the application for new board members? So there's on our website under governing board, there's a link for people to say, I'm interested in being a future board member. And I check that periodically and interface with anybody that comes through there. We haven't had many, but so if you do find somebody in your networks as you're talking to people or families and just kind of mention, hey, if you're interested in being on the board and helping this happen, and then sending them that information. And then I'll bring those people to the board meetings as they come up so that you can interface with them and invite them to the board meeting and see where it goes.
Okay, let's set some of our goals for this coming year. And it's a little bit tricky because we don't know what's happening during the coming year. But one, obviously, we want to increase enrollment in our school. I mean, that's an obvious one. And I think we've talked about some strategies, maybe having a board member more directly involved in the committee for enrollment and recruitment. Did we want to look into changing who we work with at all, Carol, or are you happy with Scola?
We don't have the capacity to renew that contract
Mm-hmm.
if we wanted to or not. And there are a few other options, but at this point, we don't have the capacity to contract with someone necessarily.
Okay.
But we have learned a lot from them and have some resources and some things starting out that help us with that.
What would be goals that, well, one of our goals is to be more actively involved in the marketing team. A board member to be more actively involved each month with enrollment. And maybe find a board member. A goal could be maybe to find a board member to help come on the board and who has more experience in advertising and marketing. Can anyone think of any other goal we might want to set for this next year in enrollment? Okay, have honest conversations with our state charter board. I'm not sure exactly what this means. Do you have ideas, Sarah, about what this would mean?
So it kind of goes back to building trust with our authorizer. they're going to come back in August, and they're going to have a meeting, and I think we should have someone there also from the board to show up and ask questions, or just be really honest with them and say, hey, we see that we are having X, Y, and Z problems. We see that we are a risk from you. We do not want to hurt any of the charter schools in Utah. We want to support everyone, but we also want to do right by you. How can we best do that? Because
And
they
there's
may
a
want us
couple of
to.
There's a couple of paths for that. So yes, there's board meetings, and it's good to be involved in the board meetings. Keeping in mind that putting in this proposal, we will be reporting in the August meeting. So we do need to have people willing to show up to their August meeting with our proposal, and discuss it there. After our August board meeting, in our August board meeting, that's something that we need to discuss and talk about who is going to attend that. But then there's also, so there's the board themselves, and then there's their office. And so there's Stacy, and there's Betty, and there's their communications person, and there's a whole team of people in their office that we can reach out to at any time. And building those relationships with them. And so, like, part of my job as the executive director is to work with you and with them in both spaces and capacities. Most of the time, I would say every single time I have a meeting with somebody from their offices, they request a board member to be present. Generally, that's the charter, the board chair or other officer if the board chair can't make it.
Okay, could you also, you can write in our goals that I will be present for that board meeting in August. Maybe the board president will be present for that meeting. Yeah.
I still think we need to have some questions for them in August as well, because we have a lot of options. And one of the things that I've heard is there's a lot of discussion going on, and we know that they can't make decisions without the entire board being present. And
I think we need to
wish-
have discussions with the office people so that we
Okay.
can get on the agenda for the board meeting. So
would be
not
happy
just
with that.
showing up at the board meeting doesn't
throwing
mean that
them
we
under
get
the
to
bus,
say
no.
anything, because their agendas have to be posted just like ours. And
Okay.
so the proper channel for that is for us to have conversations with the office people through Betty, who's our liaison that we work specifically with Stacy as the executive, and the other people in her office, that we have those discussions with them so that they will know what needs to go before the whole board for discussion and decisions, and what they can coach us through. So really, it's being involved with the state charter school board office people to guide us through that process.
Carrie,
added
did you
follow-
have some? Oh. Go ahead, Sarah, with your follow-up question.
I just added follow proper channels to be able to get feedback in August.
That sounds great.
Just to let you know, I believe that the board meeting that they will review proposals for new schools is September, not August.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
you can still schedule meetings and conversations with the office staff but the board meeting where if you submit a proposal and you intend to present that proposal, that will be in September.
I think they've adjusted their calendar a little bit over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So
We better
But-
move forward.
but
It's getting
working with
late.
the office will help us get on the correct board meeting agenda. Carrie, do you still have a question?
Yes, I would love to see us find another dedicated parent that's local. Like Sarah's awesome for the parent perspective. But we also need her for a lot of other things as well. But I'm just like, my capacity is going to be limited because I am now having to do a backup plan for the schooling of my children.
Yeah.
And a lot of my capacity that's going to the board will have to go to now schooling a 10th grader. So I would love if you guys think it's a good idea to find another parent, or if you're okay with, or if it will work for me to not, I can't be giving more time than I am right now, is basically what I'm saying. So just a thought.
We're adding that into the board transitions, maybe.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And I think, so we also do need to get more parent involvement from the community. And I think that will help us greatly with those marketing efforts of having passionate I mean, Carrie, honestly, you have been one of our biggest supports and helps in the marketing, just because you are a parent that is connected with other families that have students interested in us. And so the more parents in that situation that we can get, and not just from the MSA community, but if we can pull in some of those Treeside parents, if we could get a Wasatch parent, like looking at or a Honeycomb Cottage parent, or TC, someone from these other communities, to join us from parent movement side, that's the biggest connection. You guys are the most passionate of, I'm trying to start this school for my kid. You're a very strong voice, and you're connected with other people in that family situation. I can share on social media all day, but I'm not connected to people with kids that are interested in coming to the school, because that's not where I'm at in my life situation. And so I'll just throw that out there, that we do need more parent involvement on the board.
We did at one time try to start a parent community council.
And we didn't
What
have very
happened?
much, nobody responded. Nobody signed up.
Yeah, because you're exactly right, Carol. Like, I need more parents to take some of that load so that I can do the board stuff and not all the things.
Yeah.
So maybe if we could approach it in a way of like asking each of those communities if they might have a parent that would be willing to take on the position of like parent representative for that community. Like, hey, we're looking for a parent representative from the MSA community, and from the tree. If you're interested, like, let
And
us know.
they don't, on this marketing committee, not everybody on the committee has to be a board member.
Yeah,
A board
that's what I'm
member can
saying.
oversee it, but we can invite other people to join this committee that aren't full board members, and they don't come in and vote in board meetings, but they can help with that work. We can also have a school employees. If we have the right configuration, that committee can also be our land trust committee that can also do some other things in our community. But we need to get that. That land trust has to have 2 more parents or grandparents than any other type of person on the board. So if we have 2 school people, we have to have 4 parents. Susan, you're muted.
Carrie, I love the idea of having a representative from each school that could help us too. That would be great.
Or even like 3 representatives from each school, and form a council that way. So that they like have, because I feel like all the parents are like, oh, well, I want to help, but there's no commitment, there's no responsibility, and so they just don't. Everyone's busy. And so unless there's like specific things for them to do, a specific direction, nothing happens.
Okay. Let's see, should we just go forward to the financial plan? Is this applicable right now, or should we just put this as not applicable?
I will share briefly the conversation that I had with Jeff on our finances and the bare minimum breakdown that we discussed. And so as far as our the potential expenses, it just is really tight, and we recorded some numbers. We kind of looked at, we need probably 10 to 20,000 for the contracts that were already on contract for. So that would be the website with Edlio, the frontline platform, the like our phone bill and different things to be able to get through. Depending on I mean, so if we're paying a person to do certain tasks through this, I mean, it just is so we are having those discussions and paring everything down possible. But then that makes it really difficult to yeah, it's just a difficult situation and we are working on it.
Okay.
Sorry, just a thought. Kind of going back, I apologize. But is now the point that we could just be honest with our community and say, like, listen, if you want this school to happen, we need some help. Like, we need more parent involvement. Like, because I know there's so many people that want it to happen and they just think that it's happening, right? And they don't need to contribute. But like, we're at the point that we really do need more manpower, right? And more volunteer parents. So like, is there a way to just really positively portray that to the parents and to be like, we like the 6 of us cannot carry this by ourselves, you know?
May I interject? We need 1 or 2 very rich sponsors. Every other charter school I've been at has had sponsors. Can't we appeal to some of these places like Zion's Bank or some big rich educational
Or can we
oriented
or can we ask our community to look for sponsors?
yeah.
We've tried a lot. I mean, I've sent out emails to people and asked them to, to help in certain ways, especially with the enrollment. And I just didn't see a lot of response. And I don't know.
Utah is not a friendly landscape for that kind of philanthropy, and less so now than it has been in the past. But if anybody can find somebody to do the thing, go for it. Sarah and Christian both have comments, maybe? Sarah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that something that I've run into, because I've talked to other parents about this, is they don't feel qualified to be on the board. They feel like the school board is this magical thing that people who know all the things go and do, and that they're just a parent and they can't be involved. And I think that we need to have a way to overcome that hurdle. I don't necessarily be more friendly with it, but just be really open about this is about being willing to put the time and effort in. And it's not necessarily about knowing everything. We have lots of teachers that know a lot about education. We have all these things. We just need a lot of people that are willing to show up and help. It's kind of like putting the chairs up at the end of the day. We need someone to help get, the chairs up, to go get the kids at a place, to go this, go do that. And I think we need to have a message to parents about ways that they can help that seems a lot more accessible.
Well, and specifics about ways to help, maybe too. I mean, we do have platforms like the Utah Home School and other communities, the Utah Waldorf Community Facebook account. I mean, some of those we can put things out, but we have to have maybe more specific things that we need help with. I don't know.
And I know
How about a TV commercial or a Facebook ad, an actual video from one of us that can really appeal to those types of people. Like Carrie, you're so good at that. Carol, you're good at it. I'm not good at it. I can't even talk my husband into $500 extra a month. for my budget. So I'm not the person to go after financial stuff. But I think people, like I've been moved by ads, that just when I'm scrolling Facebook, make me want to tune into something or donate money or pray for somebody, or GoFundMe type things. It's just
Okay.
an idea.
Yeah.
Ben has a comment?
Were you asking about me if I had a comment?
Yes, your hand is raised.
It is raised. I just didn't hear my name. I think you cut out for a minute, but like a split second. I'm gonna make a suggestion that might be stupid. Has anybody reached out to Bridget Swenson? She can do anything. And I mean, I don't know what her kids are doing, but I know she's done extracurricular things that don't involve her kids. I think she could be a useful resource if anybody wanted to reach out to her.
The last time we reached out to her, she was tapped out with other things.
When was-
But not that we don't visit that again and reach back out and see where she's at.
I would suggest that. I think she could be a real asset if we could recruit her. That's all I wanted to say.
I think there's a lot of parents that can be real
Mhm.
assets. They just need to understand how desperately we need their help without us appearing so desperate.
I think there's a fun way we could do that. Just put up a really ugly Facebook post and said, "Are you a parent that has Canva and can do better than this? We need your help. Please contact." Like, get the ugliest, brownest, grossest post and just be like, "We need help with Canva. Can anyone help with Canva?" Because there's a lot of parents that they're like, "Oh, I left doing Canva," and they'll help us. But I think we need just a really specific ask.
I honestly don't even think we need Canva
Well,
because
it's
AI can do all of that now,
well then they're
like
good with
so much
AI.
faster.
Yeah, I'm just
Right.
saying whatever it is.
I think a lot of us are very hesitant to use AI in just who we are. And I think that that is something that we need to get over and use it more because it is our reality right now. And like AI can help us advertise in so many ways, and we need to be better at using that free resource.
Christian, are you still there?
Here, I will just vote for that.
Yeah, another good source for getting stuff done is Kirsten Allgood. She was always good at stuff like that. So there's just a couple of MSA parents that I remember could do anything.
Yeah, Kirsten. I remember Kirsten. Her daughter was in my class.
Yeah.
So the question
Um,
with this is, these are great ideas, but what is the action item from the board of who is going to take this on and how is that going to get done?
Well, we already discussed it. We need to have people with better skills, some skills that we don't have, and try to work towards bringing someone on the board with those skills.
yeah, appeal to the parent community. That's an action item
Mhm.
for
But I've done that over and over and over again.
Same.
Like with anyone with the MSA community, at least, because I don't have connections to the other communities. I've done it in the Utah Waldorf page. But like how maybe they're tired of hearing from me and need someone else. Or like we need a way to help them understand that it's not like if they want this school, everyone's gonna have to pitch in a little bit.
It is getting late. I think we need to move forward with some other. We do have some ideas already in that area. Let's move forward with
I think that's
close the
five minutes, but I'm
compliance
done, so I
gaps. I don't know what that means
typed
exactly.
that all up and
Oh, you
everything.
have that governance calendar and policy review calendar. Oh, yes. Those are good. Any other ideas for compliance? Board compliance, and I think those are good things to look through. Building that calendar so we have at every board meeting some things we can look at from policy review. And then honoring our bylaws, completing Waldorf training requirements, hold an annual Steiner study, actively recruiting 1 to 2 members, marketing role. Well, that's what we were just discussing. So let's go to build trust with our authorizer. Is that the board? Is that what we're thinking of?
Yes, the charter school board. We realized that our failure to open this year and some of our financial issues will probably cause stress with our governing body. And I thought it would be really good to address how we plan on rebuilding that trust, because we want them to see us and respect us as a school and know that they can work with us easily.
They're going to have to see that we can bring in more enrollment. I mean, bring more enrollment in some way. And maybe we need to bring families, Waldorf families, to these meetings at the board. You know, maybe bring in, just ask Waldorf families to come meet so they can see them, you know, and see that there are Waldorf families in the community that really are interested.
Maybe we have a meeting, like just a Zoom meeting at a very accessible time for people that says, like, if you are interested in a school, we need some help, please come to this meeting. And we can maybe ask for suggestions at that meeting
Mm-hmm.
or volunteers for different things, or I'm not sure.
Attended by state board members.
We can invite
That
them
might-
to any events that we have, and they may not always be able to come, but they do like to participate in things that are happening. We
That
can
one
always
might
invite
make us
them.
look bad.
What?
To invite them to a brainstorming meeting, that might make us look
Oh,
bad.
not necessarily, but like, I mean, our birthday party or a graduation or like they like to be involved and see what schools are doing. So help celebrate with them. And I don't know that, I mean, I would say that I don't think we've lost trust with the authorizer. I don't think that it's necessarily a loss of trust. They understand the risks involved in starting new schools. We're not the first school to go through the process of deferment. We're not the first school to have to potentially put in multiple applications before we get it right. And I think they do have respect for our commitment, for our vision, for the hard work that we are doing. They recognize that it's messy and not perfect. So I don't know that we've lost trust necessarily. I think we are in a hard situation. And they recognize that, and we're not the only one to have been here. So I don't know that they're not the enemy. They are really excited about what we're offering, and we are meeting their directive to provide more options for education. And that is also a challenge, that we are so different from the other things. Like, a lot of the models that are out there are the classical education, it's, you know, there's liberal arts education, and there's a lot of online programs that are kind of in vogue right now. And we are not those other things. We are a different thing. And they recognize that that poses unique challenges yeah, as we try and get traction and get going. So I would just say, I don't know that it's about rebuilding trust. I don't think we've lost trust to rebuild.
I don't have a
think we
feeling of that
continue-
either.
I think we
They've worked
continue
well.
to work with them
Yeah, they've worked really well with you, Carol, as far as I've seen.
and our whole team.
And they wanted us to succeed. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
I would encourage you guys to go look up some of their past meetings, especially in the past 3 or 4 months, and just kind of be abreast of what they talk about and how they handle their discussions. And I will forward out some summaries that I've been sent from their communications person on like, this is what they talked about, and these are the high level things that they're concerned about, so that you can get a feel for what they do. I'm a firm believer in connection breeds leads to support and community. A lot of times when we feel distance from someone, we don't know them, we don't see them, we don't talk to them, we are then prone to seeing them as other, seeing them as the enemy, seeing them as against us. And it's just kind of a natural tendency. But when you see them face to face and interact with them, it humanizes them. And so it would be worth everyone's while to, and you don't have to listen to the whole board meeting, but just kind of skip through some of the high points, look at what the agenda is, and listen to a section of their discussion and how they work. Both as a model of how a board runs, it would be, you know, good for board training, as well as to get to know them and how they approach their work, so that you understand the process of how to work through that process. So, I mean, I think, like, sure, having families come and help represent us if we are presenting at a meeting is a really good thing. To just randomly show up at a board meeting to, you know, let's give a plug for Waldorf Education, the public comments that isn't relative to what the board is currently doing would actually hurt us rather than help us. So understanding the process of how to communicate with them, how to go through the offices, and following the proper procedures for open public meetings would be helpful.
So the next thought is, are there any concerns we've brought up that we think the board should discuss at our put on our next agenda for the August board meeting? Carol, I think I would like to wait until we know more about what's happening with the school before we put more agenda items on our. How is everyone feeling about that for our board meeting in August?
I mean, I think there were several things here that we talked about in this board review that should be revisited and followed up on, right? Some of the action items that we kind of talked about in adjusting. For instance, where was it?
Creating a position again or we have to do that through the charter, don't we?
Right. I mean, but like the committee work, following up with the committees and making a decision about what committees we're going to have for the school year, like that should be potentially an action item for August of who's going to be on what committees and what does that look like. Revisiting the proposal and preparing for the presentation to the state charter board will be a part of that August agenda. Reviewing, so the board kind of already decided these are the monthly meetings, but revisiting that now that the school year has started, making sure that agenda carries through. Some of these things that we've been putting in the goals for the 26-27 school year, these are our goals. So which of these goals is most relevant to revisit in August and make sure that we are hitting that goal? Does that make sense?
I'm getting too tired to think here. Actually, we've got to, can you help us put those in if you think there are some that we should put in? Can you help us
Sarah,
list,
do you have
write
it?
those in? Have you written some of those, Sarah?
I'm putting a few in. I was also
Okay.
going to say, I think we should have a moment and kind of think about what we can do. For example, I can go on Facebook and make a post asking for someone to help with marketing. I do think we should have a conversation about that. But with Carol losing a lot of her administration team, we're going to have to step up and do
So I
some
think
of those
that's the
things.
discussion for that August
Yes.
meeting of like what tasks and assignments, what committees we're actually going to put together and how the board can work with those committees to get that work done. I think talking specifically about which I don't know that sending out a post today because we talked
No.
about we're going to ask for new help, but crafting those either in committees or discussing that and making a decision in the board meeting of giving that specifically.
I like that idea.
I think things will sleep between now and October.
Mhm.
And then we can come back with fresh eyes and not that we're not doing anything in July, but letting it take the time that it needs to be able to make good informed decisions.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we're here. Reminder of the
Right.
next meeting and adjournment.
Oh, yes. Let me read out loud the verse for our closing verse, and then we'll make a motion to adjourn. A healthy social life is found only when in the mirror of each soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the whole community, the virtue of each one is living. Rudolf Steiner. Is there someone who could make a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
Is there
I'll
someone who can
second it.
second that motion? Thank you, Sarah, for putting your name in already. Okay, and so let's do the vote with the members that are left for our meeting to adjourn. If you can raise your hand if you're in agreement to adjourn the meeting tonight. That's Susan and Sarah and Marta and Christian, Carrie, and then that vote has the outcome is positive for our vote to adjourn the meeting tonight. Thank you all for being here and for all the work that you've done. And we do look forward to little updates from Carol about how things are going, if she could send us those updates. And you're all wonderful. I hope we can work things through this summer and have a plan.
Have a good evening, everyone. We'll see you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Jen.